the biggest problem, I think, especially with Indian history and the idea behind it, is that we're the Amish. And nothing against the Amish, nothing against them. I don't know if any of you are Amish. I don't think you are, but you know, it's like, yay, button, zippers, no. Like, there was no point in history that we said, nope, we're done. Like, Native people has always adapted and evolved. So it's this adaptability and being able to move forward whenever complications or something arises. And I mean, the biggest change you could think of is a colonizing force coming in with technology, diseases, and different ways and mannerisms than you've ever been used to.
In September of 2025, Casey Brown, a stand-up comedian, musician, and documentary filmmaker, presented Shuffling Many Worlds, How Being Ho-Chunk is Modern, an engaging talk for two packed audiences here in the old Coombe House at Crosscurrents Heritage Center. Casey is an Emmy Award-winning documentary filmmaker, and he considers himself to be a native futurist, constantly adapting and changing while honoring traditional Ho-Chunk ways. The Driftless region of southwest Wisconsin has the highest concentration of effigy mounds in the world. Casey shared with us his journey to document the mounds in a film he's currently shooting with filmmaker Julia Pello. It all began when he lost his job as public relations officer for the Ho-Chunk Nation due to a change in administration. Or maybe it all began when he was a child, helping his father Richie Brown document mound sites. In these highlights, Casey shares with us how he started working on his current film project, Indian Mounds in a Year.
My father, he was the head of the Department of Natural Resources or the Lands Department when I was younger. You know, when I was a kid, I wanted to play video games, read books, go with my friends. My dad would shake me up out of bed and be like, Casey, we gotta go to a mound site and I need someone to hold a post up so I can start surveying it. So I was just my dad's little helper in the early days of the nation when he didn't have a lot of staff or money. So ostensibly, a mound is a pile of dirt. I'm not going to argue with you with that. Like, it's just dirt put up in a clump. That being said, if we all went outside right now and got a pile of dirt put in a clump, do you think it would be around after the next few rainfalls? Probably not. Would it be here for after 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years? All of these things, this is an architectural marvel. They're art. All these mounds tell you stories. They tell you about the stars in the sky, they tell you about the histories, they tell you about where water is, where other resources are. I mean, these mounds are teaching you something. Anyway, so I'm in this weird period. I didn't have a job. I'm kind of like I'm nominated for an Emmy, but like jobless. So my dad's like, hey, you know, we're going to be doing something. You know, do you remember that property that had the big eagle that I've been talking about for most of your life, 30 years? Like, yeah, he's like, we're finally are allowed to go on there. So we're gonna just map it out, survey it, take a look, and we're gonna get a look at it. So he's like, do you want to use your PR power for good? And I'm like, okay. So we went out there, and this is the Ghost Eagle. The widest part of the Capitol Square in Madison, the wings fit right there. That's what we're talking about. So this is the largest bird mound known in the world right now. So yeah, I did this, and I showed it to a friend I had met. I actually met Julia in that weird interim period when I was Emmy nominated but hadn't won yet. So I met her. She's a professor of film from Northwestern University. So she actually just showed a film in competition at the French International Documentary Film Festival in Marseille, France last summer. So she's pretty top tier as far as it goes for, you know, a schmuck that won an Emmy, like, luckily. I started talking with Julia, and she was the one, honestly, that saw what I did with my father, and I started talking with her about mounds. And she kind of knew about it, but after I probably went off like I did right now for an hour, but we were just sitting and casually having coffee, she's like, you seem to know a lot about this subject. Why? She's like, if you're thinking about a project to do, why don't you do that? I mean, you have your father, you have the tribe, you have all these resources. So with that inspiration, I'm like, okay, let's start doing it. So we've been filming for about 1.5 years now. It's called Indian Mounds in a Year is the working title. And essentially what it is looking at the mounds, not from a chronological, Western academic perspective, as everyone has seen it, everyone's heard it, like I've seen all the videos on it. Typically, it's a bunch of like old white guys that have a bunch of letters after their name, maybe a doctor in front, and they tell you how they quantify and qualify the mounds. And it's a lot of words that like no native person would understand, and all these different eras that it's like, it doesn't necessarily line up, but okay. And maybe added for color, there's like some old Indian guy that tells a story, and then they move on from that and have some other professor like close out and tell you like, this is where it stands today. Our film, Indian Mounds is a Year, we are looking, like for Franks Hill, we are filming the same spots over the course of the year, showing that like during the solstices, the equinoxes, during different parts of the year, how the mounds are expressed. Not even just Franks, but all these other mounds. Like you'll see mounds in a lineup, and then the sun just sets right there in this line. What the film is trying to recontextualize how we talk about the mounds, not as a linear thing, but as a circle. So essentially we start out in the spring, and then we go to the summer, fall, winter. We show you the mounds. In spring, you burn the mounds, comes down, it's ready and fresh for the summer, gets grown up, keeps going, everything dies, and then you get to winter, and that's story time, and then you get the rebirth. Essentially with the film, it's a circular line of thought, circular line of like native thought. That's how it works. There are things that always happen. And that is essentially what the film is. You can start it over again, and it's the same thing that is going to happen. That is how it works. These same stories that you keep retelling and keep retelling. And that's why our oral histories are still around, because you're thinking about it in that type of term and not like, it's in the past, what's next? What do we have going on forward? It's like, no, this is important what we just did. Remember it. Talk about it again. Keep on going with it. It really is an exercise in native futurism, in trying to talk about this. Because the film doesn't just say the indigenous perspective. There's lots of people that are non-native that have great stories about the mounds. And that's one of the things my father always told me. He's like, Casey, I'd bring guys with me like that worked for me, and they were kind of new. And we'd go to a site, and there'd be, a farmer that's been there for 100 years, his family had. And I'd have a guy just totally speak out of turn, just be like, well, you got to give this to us. This is ours. Like, what are you doing here? He's like, Casey, if you sit down, he's like, I've sat down and just had coffee with these people. And it's not like they were holding them or just waiting for them to see how much money. These are people that have lived with these mounds, have lived with these sacred sites, and honored them. And that's the thing that I definitely need to have in the film, is that this is our shared history. And that is what is so impactful about it, is it's not just my history to tell you. I want to know the stories of all the people that live near these things. What we need to think about is how our histories are intertwined and not how they've been touched up against one another. And we have to think about this not only as ourselves, but as community members now.
We look forward to welcoming Casey Brown back to Crosscurrents Heritage Center twice in 2026. We've been hosting community events since 2024, exploring the rich natural history and human history of the Driftless. Stay tuned to our website to learn about upcoming spring and fall events. If you enjoy learning about Ho-Chunk culture, please check out highlights from the Wisconsin Dells Singers and Dance Troupe performance in 2025. And thank you for watching Crosscurrents Conversations.